How's it going, everyone? It's Ollie from Arsenal 1000. Today is January 6th, 2021, and today we're going to primarily focus on this mid-Atlantic snowstorm. My bad. Is that's going to impact a lot of the mid-Atlantic states such as North Carolina, Virginia, and who knows, maybe even the Delmarva Peninsula if the forecast models continue to trend this low pressure system more to the northeast. And we'll also talk about the potential of maybe another snowstorm that could go as far south as Texas headed into next week. Well, before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content from me. So let's begin by first taking a look at the Futurecast Radar, and you see this is where this is a low pressure system that's expected to bring a pretty large area of snow throughout the mid-Atlantic states, and you see that it has that classic mid-latitude cyclone look with rain bands spiraling in front of the cold front, that this invisible cold front that you can't see. And you see that there's moisture rotating around the northern and northwestern portion of the storm, and we're seeing dry air filter in on the southern and southeast western side of this storm. And you see that there's a decent amount of convection, not a ton of convection. There's some thunderstorm activity occurring just off the coast of Georgia and Florida at this point, and some of that rain is changing over the snow, obviously, as we head more northward where the temperatures are cooler. And this, as far as it goes, is 72 hours from now, by the way, and today is Wednesday, so right around the Friday to Saturday time frame should be when you will experience snowfall right around the mid-Atlantic states. So let's take a look at the GFS model, which really represents the snowstorm. It really shows it in beyond three days, and you see that a lot of that rain and convection changes over the snow right around Friday, where it should be the worst for you guys in North Carolina, just north of Charlotte, I would say. However, Charlotte is still could be in the mix of snowfall if just enough cold air filters into the city and not enough heat gets entrained in some of the pavement or buildings in Charlotte. So we just have to wait and see how cold it is over the next several days, because if it's colder in Charlotte for days before the next 2 days before the snowstorm, then we could see a higher chance of snowfall in Charlotte, since obviously a lot of that heat gets trapped in the pavement, and when there's less heat stored by the pavement due to cooler than predicted temperatures, that means that you're more likely to see lower temperatures in Charlotte or in the bigger cities in general. So we need to keep in mind about the temperature to see how much snow Charlotte will get and other cities might be in the rain or snow line at this point. And you see that the low pressure continues to move eastward along with this jet stream dip, and it isn't such a large dip. And this jet stream dip isn't very large, it isn't very pronounced, it's fairly straightened out, which is the reason why this storm won't really strengthen much more than maybe a 1,000 millibar storm, because there just isn't going to be enough unstable air for this thing to really strengthen or get a ton of convection circulating around the area of low pressure. And that's gonna fortunately keep this storm from really strengthening into something that could potentially be something much more major, maybe a foot of snowfall. So the good news is, for a lot of the mid-Atlantic, that this won't be, I would say, a major snowfall threat. However, again, you could experience up to a half of a foot of snow, which still could cause havoc on the roadways headed into your Friday throughout a lot of mid-Atlantic states. And then I would say by Saturday, this storm is mainly offshore, and I was speculating during my prior forecast that maybe this could have a chance of getting a little bit too uncomfortably close to the northeast, to the point where we could maybe see a snowfall threat. However, that chance is definitely diminishing as we get closer and closer to Saturday when this is supposed to happen, because both the computer models are pretty much having high confidence that this is going to stay well offshore, and it's unlikely that there's going to be a major shift in the forecast where it's going to be immediately along the northeast coast. And the reason why this low pressure system is mainly going to stay offshore is due to this big ridge that's going to dominate the United States and pretty much push this low pressure system out to sea rather than bring it in to the northeast. And you see that since the jet stream is relatively straightened out and there isn't such a pronounced jet stream dip, we're more likely to see the winds come from the west, and the jet stream winds come directly from the west or southwest rather than directly southward wind, which would steer the storm closer to the coast. So since the jet stream dip isn't very pronounced, this storm is more likely to move out to sea and not really affect anyone in the northeast, which is good news. But for a lot of you guys in the mid-Atlantic states, you still will get impacted by this with some snow up to a half a foot. Like I said, if we take a look at my snowfall forecast, you see that 3 to 6 inches is I'm predicting 3 to 6 inches of snow throughout a broad area of southern Virginia and even extending to northern North Carolina and Charlotte. Like I said, you're very close to that 1 inch forecast. So I would definitely keep a close eye on this if you're in Charlotte. But in terms of the big cities that could be impacted by this storm, Richmond is involved in this. Roanoke, Virginia will be involved with the snowstorm, and also Asheville, North Carolina will be involved with the snowstorm. So you guys need to keep that in mind heading into your Friday, and might want to make second thoughts of making certain plans for this Friday, since there's going to be pretty potent, I wouldn't say potent, but there's going to be a pretty decent sized snowstorm that could cause havoc on the roads, since 3 to 6 inches is enough to cover the roads with snow to the point where it could be very difficult to travel over. So keep that in mind headed into your Friday. However, outside of this snowstorm, it's very quiet all throughout the United States for this week for the most part, as I don't really have much else to say there in this forecast video, because it's just going to be very quiet for the most part in the United States. We're not seeing any major snowstorms that have the chance of developing. We're not seeing we're not even seeing maybe a potential major snowstorm that could impact the United States, because as of right now it seems like the computer models are very confident that it's going to be a very quiet week, mainly due to how dominant this ridge will be over the United States, which will keep things dry for the most part. However, I will point out that the more likely scenario is that temperatures will be cooler than average all throughout the United States, and due to this ridge and the negative Arctic oscillation that's more typical to bring much more jet stream dips to the United States and much more cold air as a result of that. So definitely expect below average temperatures for most of the United States. However, but outside of this mid-Atlantic snowstorm that's expected to occur headed this Friday, the only real weather event you might need to worry about in the United States is these low pressure systems coming off the Northwest Pacific, where you will experience a lot of snow in the upper elevations of the Northwest Pacific, and this extends to the Rocky Mountain regions. However, there is this one piece of energy coming off the Pacific Northwest that could bring snow as far south as Texas. However, I'm going 4 to 5 days out within this forecast. There's still plenty of time to iron out this forecast, and we have to wait and see how strong this low pressure is coming off the Pacific Northwest, because if it's just marginally weaker, then there's that possibility that this storm or any sort of snowfall won't exist at all in Texas, since it's going to deal with already a lot of the factors that are going to hinder it from really maintaining its strength, such as the Rocky Mountain ranges, which is going to force a lot of that latent heat up quicker, and after it encounters the Rocky Mountain regions, it's going to need at least it needs to at least find a little bit of energy to work with to maybe re-strengthen, or it needs to be very strong by the time it reaches the Pacific Northwest to really be able to maintain its strength over, or at least maintain just enough strength to bring snow to Texas. We have to still wait and see if that will happen, but outside of that, mainly a quiet week for the United States. Let's take a look at the total snowfall accumulation forecast for the United States for the next 5 days, and you see that the majority of the snowfall will occur in the Pacific Northwest, right around the Cascade Mountain ranges, where you could see over 3 feet of snow in some areas, and a pretty large area and a pretty broad area of a foot or more of snow throughout the Cascade Mountain ranges, and all throughout the Northwest Pacific and extending to the Rocky Mountain ranges. I would say a broad area of 3 to 6 inches should be expected right all through Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, and even extending to the Rocky Mountain ranges of Colorado. And we could see that snowstorm in Texas headed into next week. So we have to keep and watch of that. However, there's still a lot of uncertainty with this, and there's that possibility there won't be any snow in Texas headed into next week. But we just have to stay tuned to what the computer model forecasts. The forecast models are saying over the next several days, because they're going to get a little bit more confidence of what's going to happen, and they're going to be more reliable as we get closer to that forecast date over the next several days. But yeah, I guess that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather related content. And I hope you guys have a good day.